It wasn't until I got to know Bill Acker, the phone freak, that I finally got the question answered, what is 450? And it turned out to be something rather straightforward. It's a simple test line for coin phones to make sure that the collect and return function is working correctly. The digits 2 and 3 collect the coin, the digits 7 and 8 return the coin. And I never found that out because 450 almost never worked from a home phone line. And then when I would try it from a coin phone, I would typically, you guessed it, dial either a 2 or a 3 on the second dial tone, lose my dime, and then say, never mind. Now, what I played you, as recorded from Jimmy's house, wasn't recorded from Jimmy's house or any other Franklin customer. I had to reconstruct it. And the reason is that back in '71, when I was researching it, I wasn't recording things like 450. Now, I could go to any payphone in most of the downstate area and get it, but I wasn't recording from payphones either. Now, of course, by 1974, Ben and I were recording a lot. But in 1974, I couldn't dial 450 from a coin phone and get that test line, because by that time, something had changed. The first sign of this came in an unlikely place. I was down in Georgia, in Gainesville, staying in a motel while visiting family in the area, and I discovered a fascinating test line, which I'd never seen before.
I'm in Gainesville, 404534. I'm going to demonstrate local collect and return test, which also is very good if you want your line held up.
On this rather fascinating and intricate test line, the reorder tone was the central place you would go back to actually dial. I remember one of the phone freaks saying, "You dial over a reorder?" Yes, here's what happens when you dial a 2. And on this tone you were supposed to hang up. I'm going to flash. Pretty fascinating. And there's more. If you want to hear a complete run-through of this test line and what it's doing, go to Maryland Phone Trips, Program 2. I have fond memories of the summer of 1973, where I was MFing from home using my ARP Odyssey synthesizer, doing it in ways that would not make a record of the call. Duffy never caught me, and I was talking to Joe Ingressia at the time. This new intricate test line for coin collect and return and other things had just been invented by Bell Labs. In fact, you can find it somewhere in the 1973 Bell Labs record. It's there. At this point, I'd only found it in Gainesville, Georgia, and I told Joe Ingressia about it. And you know Joe, he actually memorized the entire flowchart of the thing as to what it would do when you would dial each digit, etc. Now, over the next year, what began to happen is that all over the downstate New York area, the code 450 started being switched from the test line that I experimented with at Jimmy's house, that's the old one, to this new one that I found in Gainesville. And that is the reason why I came very close to not being able to show you an actual live recording of using the original 450 from a coin phone, because it was being replaced with this new thing, and by the time Ben and I were recording extensively in 1974, 450 had been replaced entirely, and the old circuit, we thought, was lost forever. But one day I was poking around in an old attic, and I found an example of the original 450, which I did get on tape. Well, actually, it wasn't an old attic. It was a Manhattan 660. I guess I need to introduce you to the unique thing that Manhattan 660s are. You see, in most of the downstate area, 660 is used exclusively for ringback. But in Manhattan, 660 is a whole other thing. It really is like an old attic because when you dial 660, you get a second dial tone, which is coming from a thing that has a 20-position stepping switch. And on various positions on that switch, you find various test lines. The ringback test line tends to be on position 19, and the way you get there is by dialing 09 on the second dial tone. The 0 advances the switch 10 positions, and then it just waits for another digit. So then the 9 gets it to position 19, and that's usually where the ringback is. So to show you this, let's go to...
Seven, 9, 5, 9, 7, 2, 1.
West 176th Street, crossbar 1. These things are amusing. Okay, here's 660. And here is the legacy dial tone for this central office, just in case you wanted to still hear it. This is not the ringback dial tone. To get that, I have to dial 09. Yes, touch tone works, by converting to dial pulse, of course. Did you hear the way that ringback dial tone flipped on? You can tell it's a ringback dial tone. I've heard so many of those, they just click in a particular way. This thing has the touch tone test in it, which if you don't dial anything does this. Right, but if you dial 1 through 0, okay, now I have signaled it to ring. I used my hook switch instead of the touch tone because, well, they've kind of kludged it so that you can do it with touch tone, but I wanted to do it the legacy way, so I rotary dialed. So now I can hang up. Now I'll tell it to ring the touch tone way, which is to touch tone 6 and flash once. I love the noises these things make when they trip the ring. It's ka-thunk or whoomp or whatever. Let's do it one more time. Okay, now one more time the rotary way. So there you have a Manhattan 660 being used for ringback, but to get to the ringback circuit, I had to dial 660, wait for a second dial tone, which in this office is the old-fashioned kind, and on that I dialed 09, and that got me to ringback. There are other test lines lurking in this old attic that is the Manhattan 660. Let's start from the beginning, dial 660, get the second dial tone, and then dial 06. Oh, too bad. The busy signal means there's nothing on 06 anymore, at least in that central office. But guess what I found in 1974 on the Lower East Side when I dialed 66006?
Okay, I'm calling from a 212674 coin phone, and I'm going to demonstrate the old type of collect and return test line, which is being rapidly ripped out everywhere, but still is on the 660. So I'll dial 660 and then 06. but first I think I'd better put a coin in.
The call you have made requires a 10-cent. Please hold on. The dial tone, 10 cents, and dial your calling. The call you have made requires a 10-cent. Please hold on. The dial tone, 10 cents, and dial your calling.
The recording isn't in such good shape. Now I'll put a coin in. Okay, now I'll dial 06. Alright, now to return with minimum voltage, I dial 7. Okay, now I'll dial 7 again and it will protest with reorder because there's no coin in. Alright, now I'll put the coin in again and dial 8, which is the same thing, except it returns with full voltage, supposedly. Okay, now I'll dial 2. Well, let me dial 2 without anything in first. And it protests. Now I'll dial 3 without anything in. And it tests also. And it tests and protests. Notice there's sort of a sound in the background when it does it. I'll turn up the volume. You can hear the step switch sliding over. I'll do it on 8 now. This, of course, is a dial tone first phone. Now I'm dialing 4. It does that every time. Dial 6. Okay, now I'll dial 4 with a coin in. The polarity's still reversed. I'm going to have to put in a whole real coin. Okay. Oh, so all the 4 does is test, but it doesn't return. I'll do it again. Okay, now I'll dial 5. Seems to be all they do. 4, 5, and 6, so I'll check 6. It just tests and tells me whether there's a coin in or not. Now, if I return the coin by dialing 8, and now I dial 6, it'll test and find that there's no coin. Okay, let's see what 0 does. Okay, perhaps 0 does the same thing. I'll put a quarter in and see. Dial 0 with a coin in now. Yeah, that's what it does. One thing I've learned from experience is that it doesn't matter whether you're on reorder or dial tone, the same thing happens. Now we'll see what 1 does. Silences the line. I wonder why. I think I'd better dial 7. Or better dial 8. I think 1 just silences the line. And then it takes the next thing you dial and adds it to it for the correct digit. For instance, if I dial 1, 6, 1 silent, and 6 should make it return because 1 and 6 add up to 7. Yeah, okay, apparently that's the case. And I can even get a test by dialing 1, 3. Okay, now I'll demonstrate the ultimate. Nickel being collected. Which, if the nickel isn't going to register due to this dial tone first phone, I'm not going to invest a dime. Nope, nickel isn't going to go in. Okay, well anyway, collect sounds the same as return, and 2 is low voltage collect, and 3 is high voltage collect, supposedly, and of course, since it doesn't think I have enough money in it, it won't do it. Whereas if I put enough money in, no, I'm not going to collect it, I'm just going to make it return. It returns with flying colors. Okay, that's all for this part of the 660. Oh no. Oh no. I just dialed 02 into the 660 and I found out that it was battery cutoff.
Walking in the attic, fell through the rafters. Yeah, 02 in the 2nd Avenue building is where they put the battery cutoff test, and that makes the line go completely unusable for about 3 to 5 minutes. I've forgotten how long it is, but once that comes on, you're done for a while. Usually 02 has the dial speed test in Manhattan. In any case, now you know and have heard what 450 was back in 1970. It was that. But I haven't really given you a good Manhattan 660 attic tour yet. So let me show you some of the highlights from Manhattan 660s. Oh, here's another thing. The good 660 also works on Crossbar 5 offices. In most of the country, Crossbar 5 offices have a ringback circuit that requires you to dial your last 4 digits, and then it's very limited in what it can do, and it's never silent, so that if there were more than one circuit, which there usually isn't, you couldn't talk through it anyway. But in Manhattan, Crossbar 5 offices and ESSs all go to the old traditional 660 on 3 digits. Here, let me show you from my West 73rd Street Crossbar 5 line that yes, in Manhattan, you can talk through 660 from a Crossbar 5.
Hello, I'm talking to you on the West 73rd Street 660 Star and Diamond line. All you have to do is dial star or diamond on the first dial tone of 660, and you're connected. But one thing you don't do is flash, because then you go where it wants you to go. Now we're going to time out, of course. You're going to time out first, and what I'll do is to hang up momentarily, which will reset the test line, and you'll get another 660 dial tone, onto which I'll dial star. Welcome back. Now my line is going to time out also, and you'll hear the crosstalk from the loud busy signal that I'm getting. As it turns out, you hardly heard that at all. Okay, now I'm going to hang up. First of all, let me reset yours again. Welcome back. And now I'm going to hang up and reset mine. I accidentally disconnected completely. I'm now going to reset. Boy, you really don't hear very much as far as crosstalk is concerned. Oh well, I guess that's all for this demonstration.
In Part 3, there are more things to hear from the 660s, including a lot of central office power supply noises and phone tones. Stuff like this. And this.